for a lot of us, golf is a way for us to escape. And I know for me it is. Aside from, the ADD I mentioned earlier, I also have had years of battling depression and things like that myself. And my job in everyday life, I'm a police officer. And so I see a lot of the bad things that go on in the world, and I see the way the country views us, as a whole. And it's hard not to feel down about all that.
Golf Smarter, number 710. The new novel, 18 Holes, is more than just a round of golf, with the author J. Wesley Frost.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Wes.
Hey, Fred. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure because I'm a little bit embarrassed here. You started writing to me well over a year ago saying that you had written a book and wanted to know if I would like to read it. And I then thank you because you continued to remind me, did you read that book? And did you get that book? Did you? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Okay. All right. So finally, you did send me the book. Thank you. And I read it all the way through because I was really entertained. Have you written a book before?
No, this is my first full length. The first one I've actually finished. I've attempted to write several. And I have ADD, and so it's kind of a struggle to actually get into the process and to actually sit down and take the time and everything.
I totally get it. I have it too, so it's hard to read a book.
Yeah. And so I finally was able to sit down and actually focus on it and, get all the thoughts I had and write them down. And that's kind of where it went from there. So.
And, I'm so interested because it's a really interesting, it's a golf book, but it's a novel or a novella. The book is called 18 Holes, and it's this guy who goes out and plays a round of golf, and you take the person through every single hole and the strokes and how he's playing it, but also get into the nuance of what he's dealing with in his game. But then there's a whole other story that's going on that is so interesting because you get into who this character is. So he's
tell
the story.
He's sort of just a normal guy. He's a retired police officer. Worked, for 25 odd years or however many. And while he was on the job one day, he gets a phone call that his wife was killed by a drunk driver. And so that kind of takes him down this depression spiral, I guess you could say. And the book starts with him deciding, since this was the anniversary of her death, that he wants to go play around the golf just to take his mind off of the day. And so it's kind of every hole is him trying to focus on the game and, the struggles that you can have during a round of golf. But at the same time, his mind keeps wandering and he keeps, going back to that and thinking back to, how much he misses her and how much he, hates what happened and how angry he is. And just, it's kind of hard to describe, really.
Well, that's why you wrote it.
Yeah.
I've always had issue with, and I guess I'm guilty of it, but I've always had issue with a singer doing the song and then somebody saying, well, what were you thinking about when you wrote that? It's like, I put those words into the song. Just listen to it. I can't explain it more than that. Read the book.
Yeah, and there's a lot of little things that, come into play throughout it. And you get to learn a lot about the main character's name is Henry. You get to learn a lot about Henry and kind of why he's even playing, golf that day, why he chose that to be his getaway. 'Cause I think for a lot of us, that's what it is. It's a way for us to escape and I know, for me it is.
Yep.
Aside from, the ADD I mentioned earlier, I also have, I've had years of battling depression and things like that myself. And, my job in everyday life, I'm a police officer. And so
Like Henry.
I see a lot of, yeah, exactly. And so I see a lot of the bad things that go on in the world, and I see the way, a lot of the way the country views us, as a whole. And it's hard not to feel down about all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's hard not to see the news and see the hateful things people say about us and how wrong we are on a daily basis when they've never done the job and they don't understand what we're even trying to accomplish.
When you say us, you mean police officers?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a weird career because we're very close. It's hard to pass another police officer when you're in your patrol car and not wave. And it's hard not to see one in a gas station parking lot and not decide to stop in and just say hey and see how they're doing. You may not even know that person.
Wow. But
just because they're in that uniform or in that patrol car, you feel that connection to them.
Mm-hmm.
And, my wife and I went on vacation earlier this year we live in Alabama. And so we went on vacation to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. And along the way, we actually stopped at like a South Carolina law enforcement museum. Had nothing to do with Alabama, but it was still fascinating just to see where, their agencies and stuff had came from.
Mm-hmm.
And, sat there and talked to, the receptionist and stuff about it. And it's just weird you still feel that connection regardless of where you go. And I see people, on my Facebook and things that travel and, people I went to the police academy with and, they'll post photos of them with other police officers in, New York City or somewhere in Florida or wherever they are, just because there is that strange connection with everybody.
I found it entertaining. I really enjoyed, and it caught me many times as I was reading through the book, and you're learning more about Henry, and you're learning of his struggle and his pain, and you can't do anything but empathize with him. And then all of a sudden, the next line is he's lining up a putt, or he's looking for his ball. And it's sometimes when you're reading books, they'll put a break of space between those two paragraphs, but you didn't. You just let it flow right through. So it caught me. It's like, wait, did I just miss that he was at the hall? No, I didn't. It was a really interesting technique.
Yeah, I kind of got the idea just from playing golf myself. I'm horrible at the game, but I love it.
We're all horrible, man.
I've played off and on since I was 14 years old, and for me, the first time I went to play golf was with my Sunday school teacher from church, and he kind of took me out to play because I didn't have anybody else that would. My mother was always at work, and my father was never around growing up. He's dealt with a lot of personal issues of his own through his entire life, and we really don't have much of a relationship. And
I'm sorry.
It's good to hear, but at the same time, it's kind of helped me grow and become the person that I am now. I kind of joke with other people that, me and him, we live on different sides of the badge. And so,
ouch.
It's just, it's just kind of the way it has played out, for me. And, a lot of people go through things, so I don't look for any kind of sympathy or anything from anyone. It's just the way the cards were dealt. But, playing off and on for so many years, you'd think I would be better than I am, but I'm not. And so, But, when you go play, and I'm sure you're aware of this, when, you tee the ball up on the first hole and you hit it, and well, now you got to either walk or drive to that ball, and there's a lot of downtime in golf, because, how much are we really swinging the club, And
that's why there's been over 700 episodes of this show, because it's like there's a lot to think about, and you think way too much.
And that's kind of where the book, came from, because, you can be walking up to the green, you've got your putter in your hand, you've only got 6 feet left, but at the same time, what am I making for dinner? and those kind of thoughts just come into your head, and, well, now I'm at the ball, what do I do? And so I kind of wanted the reader to kind of feel that way, feel like they were the ones having the thoughts, even though it was Henry thinking it. I wanted them to kind of feel what it was like to, kind of get lost in your own mind and then have to come back to what you're doing at that moment.
What inspired you to write this book and create this story?
Well, I'm not really sure. Henry deals with a lot throughout the book, and, the main focus is his, how his wife died. I guess part of me wondered, 20 years from now, what would I do if something happened to my wife? And because we've been together almost 10 years, and she's really been, exactly what I needed throughout those 10 years. Mm-hmm. And she's been, the best part of my life on a daily basis. And she doesn't know that, she doesn't feel like that. And, but she has. And so for me, if I was to go through something like Henry does, I think I would just fall apart. And, I would, hopefully I would be able to find something that would keep me kind of grounded. And that's, kind of where I got the idea. My wife is she's a social worker. She works for a hospice company. And so she deals with, a lot of death and things throughout the day, but she travels a lot. And, she covers, the entire county where we live, and parts of other counties too. And so she's constantly driving. Mm. And, in my job, it's kind of scary to think about, wrecks and drunk drivers and all these things. And, I just know she's out on the road right now going somewhere, and it's hard not to worry about her.
Yeah. Have you ever found it paralyzing, getting caught in those thoughts?
Not paralyzing. There are times where I will call her and she'll be with a patient and she won't answer the phone. And, in my mind, I'm thinking she's with somebody, she's with somebody. If something had happened, they would have called me by now, And so I'll wait 20 or 30 minutes, and then I'll call her back. And then if she doesn't answer, then it starts to get a little iffy, and that's when the multiple calls start. And, then she finally sends me a text back and says, I'm busy. And I'm
Stop
like,
bugging
okay,
me.
That's all I needed,
Yeah, exactly. Just send me a thumbs up. Right? Emoticon me, babe.
Yep, that's all I need, just a smiley face or a wink or something.
Yeah. Well, you've learned from an early age, it sounds like, that you always have to take one step at a time, and that you just don't know what life's going to bring your way. And when it throws you something that you didn't anticipate, you just take one step at a time and you deal with it. You have to.
Yeah. And that, that's the main focus of the book, not just for Henry's golf game, but, for his life and everything that goes on with it. And it's just, I don't know. I was happy the way that it ended. I kind of wish it was longer.
But golf is only 18 holes.
exactly.
I mean, is that what you mean? It was like, you do have the epilogue.
Yeah. I wish I tried to think about different ways of trying to make the game, or not the game, but the book a little bit longer than it is. But it came out a little short. But I think it ended where it needed to, and I like the conclusion. I won't spoil that for anybody, but I think it ends in a good manner.
Very much so. I completely agree. I really, really love where you because there were some surprises. I mean, there's a lot of surprises all the way through the book. You're like, oh, there are those kind of reactions to it, and it does come to a conclusion that you can close the book and go, oh, that was entertaining, and it was. I mean, usually it's hard for me to get through books like this. People send a book, and it's like, I'll just ask questions about the book, but I just kept reading, and maybe because it wasn't a golf instruction book that kept my attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people would pay for me to give them golf instructions. So, I could tell you how to easily not break 100. But other than that,
yeah. But are you sure how to do it? Or are you just lucky?
Well, I don't think either one. I'll tell you. I went and played last Friday, and I usually just go by myself, and I'll play 18 and I'll go home. And it's been kind of tough because it's been so hot here in Alabama lately. But, we've been upwards of 100 degrees the past couple of weeks, wow, which is crazy for September.
Yeah.
But there was another guy that was there that was playing by himself. And somehow we ended up talking and on the first tee and just decided to, we'll just play together, And so through the first 9 holes, I was on pace. I was on pace to shoot 90, which I haven't done in probably 15 years, just because I haven't had the time to really go out there and play as much as I'd like. And the past couple of years, I've really gotten into it a lot more and been able to go every week or two and, try to get better. But, yeah, the second half of that day just did not match the first at all.
Hey, welcome to golf.
Yeah, that's what I told him because he had only been playing a few months, and he wasn't really shooting bad or anything. He was making some pretty solid contact when he needed to, and he was getting frustrated with the game, which I told him, hey, that's going to come because that's all of us. I mean, you can watch, Golf Channel on Sunday and see the same people that are going to win the tournament getting frustrated at a putt or something. So, and I think that's what draws a lot of us to golf is just how difficult it is.
Yes. And also that it's a hard lesson to learn that you don't get better every time you play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very hard lesson. I think that's where our frustration lies. It's like, I know I'm better than this. How come it's not doing what I want it to do?
Yeah, my wife will come with me sometimes, and she'll ride in the cart or something. And she doesn't play.
Wow, that's special.
Well, sometimes it is. She told me one day. She told me we were on like 13th hole, and she was like, "I'm bored." And I said, "Oh, well, I can't help it. There's still a few holes left." But,
all right, we can go home now. Thank you for waiting out 13 holes.
She asked me why I was getting so frustrated one day, and I was like, because I know I can hit the shot.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why I'm not.
Yeah. Do you use golf as a distraction from your work as a policeman?
Not so much as a distraction. I use it as something else to focus on, I guess, but I wouldn't really call it a distraction because I try to separate my work life from my home life as much as possible.
That's safe.
Well, when I'm home, I want to be home. I don't want to be thinking about work. I don't want to be thinking about, I work in a very small town now, but I have worked in larger cities and things like that over the years. And it hasn't been as bad here, but, working in a big city, you get so used to break-ins and thefts and things of that nature that it would be hard not to think about them when you're off work. But luckily for me, and well, I say luckily, the first police job I had, it took me an hour to get there. And so on my way home, I had a lot of time to decompress. And over the time working there, it kind of taught me how to separate work from home. And so now I only live, 10, 15 minutes from my job, and I have a take home car and all that stuff. And so, you would think it would be a little bit harder for me because I even go through the place I work every day, but it hasn't been. So I feel pretty lucky about that. And golf is a way for me to get outside and to do something other than, police work. And that's the main reason I do it.
How did you find me? I mean, why is it that you wrote to me to say that you were thinking of writing a book? Because when you first contacted me over a year ago, you were talking about this, that you were something caught your attention about the podcast, I think. Tell me that story. I'm really curious.
Well, being in the car like I am every day, you look for something because there's a lot of downtime in my job now, especially where I work now. There's a lot of downtime.
Why?
I just don't have very many calls. And if I don't have any calls, the only other thing I can really do is drive around in circles or pull cars over.
Are you in a small town or?
Yeah, I'm in a very small town. I'm in a very small town just south of Huntsville, Alabama, where the Space and Rocket Center is, NASA and all that.
Yeah.
We probably only have 2,000 people that live in my town. So our department, we have 6 police officers. So
you're probably too young to remember the Andy Griffith Show or Andy of Mayberry. It sounds like that's who you are. Do you remember that show? Do you know about it?
Yeah, I grew up watching that. My mom's a huge Andy Griffith fan, so.
And of course, we all know that the kid in the show, Opie, grew up to be Ron Howard, the amazing film producer.
Yeah. But yeah, being in the car as much as I am every day, you look for stuff to listen to. You get tired of listening to music, and I was getting into golf again, and so I said, I'm going to try to find like a podcast or something that's just about golf. And I tried a couple, and either the people, either it's just talking about the PGA Tour, or it's just talking about, this or that, or, techniques and all this kind of stuff. And then I found your podcast, and it went beyond that, and it was more the intelligent side of it, and
had you fooled.
Well, and, I think one of the first people I listened to you talk to was Joseph Parent, and the Zen of Golf and all that. And I love that book. It's amazing. I listened to it while I was working one day after hearing about it on your show, and it kind of fell into a lot of the stuff that I try to do on a daily basis. I've really gotten into mindfulness and awareness and all that kind of stuff over the past couple of years.
Good for you. And
so, that whole Zen side of golf, I really tried to take that to heart. And so that's kind of where I got into. And I believe I sent you an email that said that I just wanted to thank you for your show. And you sent me something back, and you just said that you really appreciated my email, because normally when you get an email or a message or something, there's usually a question involved, and I didn't ask you any questions. I just sent you something just to let you know I really appreciate the show, because I do. It's, I don't know if I've really ever listened to an episode I didn't like or I didn't find some sort of enjoyment out of. And, it's helped me get through, some patrolling, and introduced me to some books and different things that I would have never known about had I not listened to the show. So I thank you for it.
I'm flattered. Thank you very much. That's really kind. I appreciate it. You said some nice things about me that are total lies. So, where did you draw from to create Henry? I mean, is he a conglomerate of a lot of people you know, or you've worked with, or that you are? How did Henry come about, and that situation with him?
I think the part of me's in Henry. I wouldn't say all of it because he's, I kind of wanted him to be his own person, but he, there is some stuff drawn from experiences, and I couldn't get into specifics about certain situations in the book without, having it here in front of me or anything. But I believe there's a couple of stories in there that actually happened to me.
Hopefully the ones on the golf course.
Hopefully.
Maybe not.
You run into a lot in my job, and so there's a lot to draw from. And even if I didn't experience it, I've heard the stories from other guys, and or I've seen it happen, and or whatever. I've read about it. There's a lot that goes into this that a lot of people don't know about. So.
When you started to write the book, when you were inspired to write this book, this I'm fascinated by, because my wife is writing a book right now, and it's taking a long time. She's been working on it for a couple of years now, and it's a memoir. But she's working with writing coaches, and it's taking a while. So I'm curious, had you ever written a book before, or did you consider yourself a writer?
I had never written a book before, not a complete one. I've started several, and I always would end up getting stuck, or the farthest I had gotten before was probably close to the same length that this book ended up being, but it was nowhere near done. But I felt like it just had no direction at all, and so I just ended it, stopped writing it and kind of put it on the back burner. But I've been writing since I was in high school. Just little short stories here or there. I wrote a lot of poetry when I was in high school. I've read books for a long time, and so kind of drawing inspiration from that kind of stuff. I mean, some of the people that I've met that were my favorite, like famous people that I've met, have been authors. So I'm not into the movie stars and stuff like that. I'd rather meet somebody that seems more, I hate to put it this way, but intelligent, I guess. Well, it's one thing to watch the movie, but all the people that have read the book that are in the crowd are sitting there going, well, this isn't how the book was, Yeah,
right.
And the movie is never quite as good, is it?
Most of the time, no.
And I don't know, that fascinates me, is the way you can just look at words on a page and read them, and you see what the author wants you to see, And I've always had a pretty creative imagination, I suppose. And so book, the scenes and the pictures and things that are in the books have always kind of came to me pretty easy. And writing for me was a way to get out, especially in high school. I went through a lot of, I was kind of an outcast, and not that I was trying to be, that's just kind of how it happened. And so, I say that sometimes I did try to be. I would, I'd bring chess magazines into the classroom so that people would just leave me alone, because who wants to talk to the kid reading a chess magazine? But yeah, writing was a way for me to, take some of those things that I was feeling, put them down on paper, let them go, deal with them there, and, move on.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of why I write. And I've always considered myself a writer, not so much an author.
Interesting.
I am trying to I'm trying to write another book now. I'm kind of in the conceptualizing stage at the moment. I haven't actually wrote, anything down yet, but I think it is going to be somewhat golf related again, just to try to, I guess, piggyback off of that for right now. And because there's so much to explore with it.
What was it about this book that got you to finish it? I mean, because you said you've started a lot of things, they never went anywhere, you didn't finish, but you made it all the way through this and then self-published, and now it's available on Amazon. What was the thing that drove you to the end of this story?
I found it interesting. And I think that helped.
Wow.
And I actually had an ending to it before I even finished the book. Before I really even started the book, I knew how it was going to end.
Oh, okay.
And
so you knew where you knew where you were headed.
Yeah, I actually had an idea for it, and I'm not one of those people that can, sit down and write out an outline for the book and, write backstories to all these people and everything. I just kind of start writing and I see where it goes, and if it goes somewhere I like, I keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, I either try to rewrite it or I just scrap the whole thing altogether and start over.
Yeah.
And so that book just sort of, it just kept working out, and it took me a little while to finish it. It took me about a year to really have the time to really sit down and work on it. But
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it turned out pretty well for, the first attempt.
Well, I think it turned out pretty well too, and congratulations on. I just from this conversation, I can congratulate you on so many things. One, of course, finishing the book, and two, not just congratulations, but thank you for the work that you do, helping protect your neighbors and be there for them when they need it, and for being a sensitive person with who's behind a badge. I want to thank you for that as well.
There's a lot more of us than people know.
Probably.
Yeah.
But they're not the ones grabbing the headlines, unfortunately.
A lot of the ones grabbing the headlines aren't always warranted either. So I won't get into all that. But
no, let's not do that. But let's one more time just repeat. The name of the book is 18 Holes, and it's on Amazon. And you look up the writer is J. Wesley, Wesley, last name Frost. J. Wesley Frost, the book 18 Holes. And thank you for listening, for your kind words, for reaching out and sharing it with me and bugging me about it so that I did read it because it was worth my effort and my time, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Well, I really appreciate you, having me on the show, and look forward to hearing from you again.
It's time to announce the winner of our giveaway for a free online swing assessment from Jeff Ritter. Congratulations go out to Petra C of Santee, which is down near San Diego in California. Petra, you're going to be able to upload your swing, and Jeff will provide feedback and suggestions on what he sees. I'll send you an email and copy Jeff so that you two can arrange your session. And please keep me posted as to what you've learned and your progress. And thanks again for participating and making yourself available to win. And you can do that too, because we're not done. There's still a couple more giveaways left in 2019. And the next one has been probably the most popular one of the year. It's your chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card courtesy of our good friends at Autoslash.com. And with the holidays coming, who couldn't use an additional $100 to spend for gifts? Deadline to enter is Sunday, October 20, 2019, midnight Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern. To enter, go to golfsmarter.com and click on the giveaway banner at the top of the homepage. This week on Golf Smarter Mulligans, it features our second conversation with the late Kerry Mumford, creator of the Clear Key system. The Clear Key system is still happening at clearkeygolf.com thanks to some wonderful people who are dedicated to keeping his method alive. Why? Because it works. Listen to Golf Smarter Mulligans this week with Carrie Mumford. The show will come out this Friday morning. Get your free subscription to either Golf Smarter or Golf Smarter Mulligans wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And please, let other listeners know what you think of the podcast. That really makes a difference when you're searching for any type of podcast. But if you just type in golf, you're going to see Golf Smarter and some other shows. A lot of other shows these days. The competition has become fierce. And your reviews really help other listeners find the stuff that helps their game. And if they're looking to know what's happening in the next tournament, this ain't the show. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com.